Recently, a movie called The God Committee explores the incredibly difficult decisions doctors have to make determining which patients deserve a life-saving heart. Take a look.
The donor is an 18-year-old boy from Buffalo.
We can't waste a heart.
It has to be beating by 11 a.m. We need to be prepping someone by 9:30, the latest.
$25 million.
We picked TRIP, and we're saving much more than one patient.
It's always been about maximizing assets. Unfortunately, the assets happen to be human organs. It's blood money. They had to cut another deal to keep this quiet.
Dr. Taylor, you're the decider.
And joining us now is transplant doctor and author of Exhale, Dr. David Weil. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Weil.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Hey, Doc.
At one time, you were a real-life God Committee member. Is the reality behind the scenes as gut-wrenching as it appears on the screen?
Yeah, it's actually pretty close. You know, we grappled with the same issues that you see in the movie, whether it's psychosocial issues or issues of privilege and access. I don't know that they were all compressed into one day like in the movie, but they're really the same issues about bringing our own value system to the selection process. So I thought it was actually pretty accurate.
Dr. Weil, tell us why you chose to become a transplant doctor.
Well, when I was an intern, just a few hours out of medical school, I was at Parkland Hospital in Dallas, and one of the upper-level residents on the kidney transplant service got sick, and they needed somebody to volunteer for a month, and of course I volunteered. And the first night I was on the service, the team did a kidney transplant on a gentleman that hadn't urinated in 11 years, and they did the transplant operation, and I was in charge of taking care of him overnight, and suddenly he started urinating, and I couldn't believe it. It was like a jolt of transplant lightning went right through me, and I was hooked.
It's truly the gift of life. And to be there in that moment, I can see why that was so special for you, Dr. Weil. Now, Dr. Weil, for all of us who don't know, break it down for us. What are the basic steps involved to qualify for a transplant?
Sure. Basically, you need the first step, which is a referral to a transplant center. And then we at the center look over the medical records and determine whether or not we should have that person come for a full evaluation, which takes about 3 days. That's a lot of testing. It's a head-to-toe look at a patient with a psychosocial evaluation. And then when we gather that information up, that's when the committee comes in, and we bring that information to the committee and then determine whether or not somebody should go on a waiting list or not.
Well, that being said, there's a committee, it's a team. So tell us more about the real-life characters that make up a committee like this, and how does it work?
Yeah, it's actually a committee room just like in the movies. It's a multidisciplinary team, as you point out. The doctors do have the loudest voices in the room, certainly, but not the only voices. And we actually debate, argue, cajole one another, convince. And it really is a back and forth process. And it was probably the most intense part of what we did, is that weekly meeting that I participated in for 25 years, picking candidates for the transplant list.